Hello everybody. At the outset, I would like to welcome all the first year students to Mahajana family very happily and wholeheartedly. Before I begin with my presentation segment, let me introduce myself to you all very briefly. I am Venkatalakshmi M N, HOD and Associate Professor, Department of Economics, also Academic Dean of this institution. First year students who have joined this college, you have opted in BA class HEG or HES or JEE combinations. Those who are into these combinations, those who have opted one of these combinations, study economics as one of the core subjects. During the first semester of BA class, there is an economics paper called Indian Economy. After this semester, when you get into your second semester, there is one more economics paper called Fundamentals of Microeconomic Theory. Let me give a small briefing what all you study in your first semester, also under economics paper. The title of the paper being Indian Economy. It may even be called as Indian Economics. Only nomenclature has been changed. Under this paper, Indian Economy, there are 5 modules in total. This semester, you need to concentrate upon 5 important modules of Indian Economy. Earlier, the same paper was called Indian Economics. From the past several years, the nomenclature has been changed and now it has come to be known as Indian Economy. As I already said, there are 5 modules or 5 chapters, or you may simply call them 5 units. And this Indian Economy paper, there are 6 hours actually. These 6 hours will be shared between 2 of the faculty members in our department. And with my colleague, I am sharing the classes. Of these 5 modules, I am going to deal with chapter number 2 or module 2, which is about agriculture and industries in India. In an elaborative manner, I could be able to call it as agriculture development in Indian economy. And immediately after that, there is another important topic comes in, which is none other than industries or industrial development in the Indian economy. And in this particular chapter, there are 2 major topics or concepts, you may call them. Let me now begin with one of the major topics rather, which is none other than agriculture in Indian economy. Under this agricultural segment or a concept, there are 5 different subtopics which we need to cover. When you talk about agriculture sector in India, there come 5 different topics we have to cover with, namely role and importance of agriculture sector in India. This is the very first topic I have to focus upon. Next comes very important one, which is none other than National Agricultural Policy, which is also called New Agricultural Policy. And there is a topic, food security in India. Immediately after this, we have to get into the details of modernization of Indian agriculture. Finally, as part of agriculture sector in India, there is one more topic which we are supposed to cover with none other than agricultural laborers. So this is the outline of this particular unit, which comes under agriculture sector in India. And in a nutshell, I have told you already, there are a few topics which we are supposed to cover with as part of agriculture sector in India. Let me begin with one of the major topics, subtopics rather, and which is role and importance of agriculture in Indian economy. All of us do know that whether you have studied economics in your lower classes or not, maybe some of you are from science background, but still, an Indian economy and some of the basic information relating to Indian economy you must have already come across. So whatever knowledge that you are having with respect to this Indian economy, and I'm just going to add some new points to your existing knowledge with respect to Indian economy. Under this role and importance of agriculture in India, actually we are speaking about to what extent agriculture is important. What major role, what key role that agriculture sector here in Indian economy must be playing. Because agriculture once upon a time, that is before independence, if I have to say very correctly, then I should say that before independence, agriculture played a very important role. Key role was played by agriculture. It was also enjoying a major and very respectable position in the economy of our country. But situation is not same when you look into the present scenario of Indian economy, and lot of changes have taken place, particularly in the agriculture sector. Not only in agriculture sector, and similar is the case with industries and service sector also. Before I get into the details of important role being played by agriculture sector in our country, I must tell you all one thing, because sharing of basic information I feel that is very important, because you're all fresh students, you are into first year degree and may not be knowing very clearly about the economy of any country. It may be Indian economy or US economy or British economy for that matter. And the economies of different countries actually will be divided for the sake of convenience, for the sake of simplicity, and for various important purposes. The whole of the economy will be divided into three major sectors, namely primary sector, secondary sector, and tertiary sector. Under primary sector, very importantly and majorly, one important sector or one important activity that you would get to see none other than agriculture sector. Along with agriculture, other related agricultural related activities also we want to put into the same category. That means to say, in the category of primary sector, you are able to find out or you are able to see agriculture majorly. Agriculture and all other related activities come into or belong into this particular category of primary sector. Next comes secondary sector, wherein you would be able to see another very important activity or a sector, which is none other than industries or industrial sector, manufacturing sector, and industries of all various kinds, including small scale, micro enterprises, medium enterprises, large scale industries, industries of all various kinds, including IT industry, and belonging to this particular major category, which is secondary sector. And finally, there is one more sector called, or which is entitled as tertiary sector, because we'll have a confusion when you come to know that tertiary sector. Tertiary sector is nothing but service sector. Interchangeably, you can use these two important names. In place of tertiary sector, we can as well use another important name, none other than service sector. Under service sector, actually, you will be able to see only service rendering activities. The activities, whatever you are able to see under service sector, all of them will be rendering different types of services to agriculture, industry, and to all the people and to the entire nation of the country. And without the existence of service sector, agriculture and industry cannot be existing in this world. In the absence of service sector, you can't even be able to imagine about the existence and survival of agriculture and industrial sector. Therefore, I would like to say that there is always an interdependence, large degree of interdependence you may be able to see between agriculture, industry, and service sector. And you may be surprised if I say, what are those service rendering activities which belong to the category called service sector? These activities are very simple. I can name some of these activities. And for example, transport and communication, banking, insurance, financial institutions, education, tourism, even, and technology, science and technology, even IT sector, all of them actually and fall or belong into this major category. So all these, whatever activities just now I mentioned here all of them would be rendering or would be providing different types of services to the nation, but they never produce commodities like agriculture and industry. Therefore, they are called, service sector activities, service oriented activities. So with this small briefing about the economy and the classification of economy, let me now take up a topic which is role and importance of agriculture in Indian economy. Because we know very well that and agriculture is the major occupation, predominant occupation of millions of people in our economy. It is one of the important industries in our economy. Therefore, learned people always, they want to make it, they have given a statement. They have given a statement, they have already made a strong statement. They firmly believe that agriculture is the backbone of Indian economy. Of course, we do agree that industry is the lifeblood of our economy. Therefore, we cannot overlook the important role played by industry and service sector along with agriculture. These two important activities also to be equally considered and to be given equal and enormous amount of importance in our economy. So let me concentrate upon important role played by agriculture sector. And though majority of people, larger or huge proportion of the population, say around 60 to 70% of population depend upon agricultural activities to earn their minimum livelihood, still agriculture contribution towards GDP or national income of the country day by day over the years it is dwindling. So it is very very disheartening to note that. It is very very disheartening to note that even though large proportion of the population depends on agriculture in order to lead their happy life, in order to lead their life, still agricultural contribution towards GDP is coming down nowadays, and it is very unfortunate. And even though in spite of all these problems whatever you are able to see with agriculture sector of Indian economy, still I just wanted to make an argument that even today when you look into the present scenario, along with industry and other important activities coming under service sector, no doubt agriculture is playing a major role and key role. So whatever role being played by agriculture can be proved with the help of certain important points, and there are several points with the help of which, with the support of which I can be able to prove that. I can be able to, I wanted to be very assertive, wherein I am going to say that agriculture sector role is very important in our economy because it is a major employment providing sector. It supplies all types of the food grains and food crops to the existing population, also to the growing population of the country. And coming to this importance, let me start with the one important point, none other than agricultural contribution to GDP of the nation. This is one important point I must tell you all. Agriculture, and there is no doubt even today agriculture is contributing, share of agriculture to national income can never be denied, can never be overlooked. Therefore it is playing very important role because it is contributing to national income in sufficient quantity. So what's its contribution? When it comes to contribution, and I must tell you one thing, that is, and before independence and immediately after independence, when we could launch upon, or when we could start with the first 5 year plans, at the time of first 5 year plan, while launching the first 5 year plan, we had to give inevitably topmost priority to agriculture sector because there was food shortage in our country. At that time we could see large enormous amount of growth and development in agriculture sector. It contributed so much to national income. It was more than 50%, 50 to 60% of national income came only from agriculture sector, and very admirable thing. And we always have to appreciate this particular thing. Whatever initiatives taken by government of India, as a result agriculture started growing. So during that particular period, but when you look into the economy after 1970, after 1980, especially after the implementation of new economic policy, and agriculture actually started losing its popularity, started losing its place and position in the Indian economy. So here the share of agriculture towards national income, as I said earlier, day by day over the period of several years, over the period of 50 years after independence, actually it has come down. Earlier it was more than 50%. Only from agriculture alone we used to get more than 50% towards national income. And when you look into the data and statistics provided actually by the agricultural ministry in the year 1920, 2019 and 2020 are 2019 and 2020, and it is very, very unfortunate to state that agricultural contribution towards GDP of the country is around 60 to 17%. Actually, this is a fact. When you look into the facts and figures, when you look into the rate of growth of agriculture sector, it is less than 4%. Therefore, I would like to say that agriculture, even though government has taken number of initiatives, still agriculture has remained backward because there are several important practical problems beset with the agriculture sector. But still, it is contributing sufficiently to national income of the country. And coming to the second important point, agriculture plays a very important role in generating employment. That means to say, already once I have told you that 60 to 70% of people in rural India, actually also in urban India, and especially in rural India, 60 to 70% of population depend upon agriculture and other related activities. And though agriculture contributing less to national income, still we are making an argument stating that it is the largest employment providing sector in our country, and 60% of the population they have been employed only in the agricultural lands. And this is yet another fact. Actually, it has provided employment to several millions of people in our country. The population of our country, because as per the census of 2011, and the total population of the country, and it is around 1.38 billion, actually, or 138 crores, which is equal to 17% of the world population, actually. So here, out of these many people, actually 60% of people, and I want to mention this point with emphasis, actually depend upon agriculture sector. Therefore, employment opportunities are there with agriculture sector, provided agriculture sector should be developed in a very, very proper manner. And let me go to another very important point. It will be supplying. It is capable of supplying. It is capable of providing different food articles and various important food crops, food grains and food articles to the existing population, also to the growing population. I have already told you that what is the total population of the nation, and population is growing at an alarming rate. All of us do know this fact. And to the existing population of the nation, different types of the food grains will be provided, will be coming only from the agriculture sector. Of course, along with agriculture commodities, we are also consuming, we are also the buyers of industrial commodities. But the role when it comes to agriculture sector, when it comes to major food staple and important food grains, we get only from agricultural sector. That doesn't mean that we don't consume industrial commodities, only to some extent or only to a smaller extent. To the extent possible, we always depend upon agriculture sector for our food needs, for our food requirements. This is how agriculture providing or supplying food articles to the entire population of the country. It is playing major role in our country, along with industry and other service sector. And contribution to capital formation, agricultural incomes play very, very important role. Our farming community, our agriculturalists, actually whenever they get incomes out of their produce, by selling their produce, by selling their agricultural commodities, and whatever incomes they are earning actually out of the agricultural activities, they definitely out of their total income they are going to save. That would enable the country to increase the rate of capital formation. Therefore, it is also another source for the capital formation. Capital formation could be easily enhanced with the agricultural incomes, with the savings that are made by agriculturalists in our country. And it is also supporting industries and service sector. Therefore, capital formation can be enhanced in the country with the help of the incomes and savings that are earned and made by the agriculturalist or farming community of this country. And next important thing is that not only it supplies food grains and food articles to the existing population, it will also provide raw materials. It is yet another major sector which can be capable of providing or supplying raw materials to agro-based industries, because there are few industries in our country. Say for example, cotton textile, tea industry, even coffee curing industries, and jute industries, actually, and all these edible oil industries, and all these industries are called as agro-based industries. There are quite a good number of industries which may be called as agro-based industries. These industries depend directly and indirectly in order to obtain their raw materials directly from agriculture sector. And therefore, it is very important to say that agriculture not only helping the existing population providing food articles, it is also supplying required amount of raw materials to all the agro based industries. Therefore, the development of agro-based industries depend upon the development of agriculture, I should say at this point of time. Let me go to another important supporting point with the help of which I am trying to prove that agriculture is very important in our economy. Though industry and service sector are booming in our country, but still agriculture becomes agriculture, and from the time immemorial it has been playing very important role and supporting the economy in several important respects. And it will also provide market for the another point I'm just getting into. It will also support, or it will provide markets for the industrial commodities. There is no doubt we can, the line of argument goes something like this, because agriculture development is very important, is very useful for the development of industries and service sector, as I have already mentioned. At the same time, one more point I'm adding up here, wherein I want to say that it will provide market for the industrial commodities. There are two important ways, or there are two important points I need to mention under this. On the one hand, agriculturalists will express demand towards the purchase of industrial commodities, towards all the industrial commodities that are manufactured by industries, and the demand will be coming out of agriculturalist or farming community, because they are all consumers. In order to survive, in order to lead their life, and actually they have to buy industrial commodities, because all their needs and wants will never get satisfied only with the agricultural commodities. Therefore they express demand towards the industrial commodities. This is how agriculturalists, being the consumers, they provide market, or they express demand for the industrial commodities. On the other hand, they also express demand for the agricultural equipments, tools. Actually, whatever agricultural tools and modern method of production or modern tools that are required for the cultivation purpose, and these are produced and manufactured only by industrial sector, because industries will manufacture agricultural tools, agricultural instruments, and also several important equipments, including tractor and tillers and many other important things, even chemical fertilizers and pesticides, and all these are industrial commodities. And towards these commodities, it is agriculturalists who express their demand. So on the basis of these two important points, I can prove that agriculture is providing market for the industrial commodities in two different ways. And next is, it is also contributing to exports of the nation, because at the time of independence, agriculture alone contributed more than 60% of the commodities in our total exports. Because, and whenever you take the count of the total exports, at the time of independence, or else I could say that in 1950s, in 1960s even, because when you take the count of total exports, actually out of our total exports, see, a total export consisted, 60% of our total export consisted of only agricultural commodities. And therefore, we used to export number of agricultural commodities to outside the country once upon a time, and 60% of our export comprised only agricultural commodities, and primary commodities used to be exported from our country once upon a time. But after 1980s, when you look into the history of Indian economy, things have changed a lot. But nowadays we are not able to export so much, because our population has become very big, has become very huge. Whatever we grow, whatever crops we produce, and all of them are going to be purchased and absorbed by our own existing population. So it has become very difficult for Indian economy to cater to the needs of the growing population, to meet the requirements of the Indian population. So whatever we grow actually, and that is going to be used for self-consumption. So that is why total exports have come down. At the same time, in the international market, the demand for agricultural commodities of Indian economy has come down very drastically. So due to this particular reason, we may not be able to export. Lot of competition is there in international markets. Therefore, we are not able to export more of our agricultural commodities to outside the country. Substitute goods are also available actually. So due to this competition, we are unable to export more of the agriculture commodities to other countries. And there is yet another point, which runs like this. It will definitely contribute to the development of industries and service sector, there is no doubt. And the line of argument goes like this, because it will support industrial development, and it will also support service sector development. Already I have told you the development of service sector and development of industries are also very, very important. Their development depend upon directly the agricultural development, because there is a large degree of interdependence between three important sectors. The development of agriculture leads to development of industries and development of service sector. Whatever services, whatever goods that are provided by industry and service sector, they have to be demanded by agriculturalists. This way, agriculture always, agricultural development leads to industry and service sector development also. This is all about, with these many important points, I have been able to prove that, I have been able to say that agriculture is a very, very important sector. It's a very predominant sector in our economy. It's the predominant occupation for nearly 60% of the population. Therefore, agriculture has to be developed in a very, very proper manner, though it is contributing less to the national income of the country. And let me now move on to the second important topic, because there are 5 topics under the agriculture sector in India. One of the topics just now I have completed. Let me take up another topic, which is none other than national agricultural policy, because government of India, keeping in view the dwindling or declining share of agriculture towards GDP of the country, and implementing this national agriculture policy, because there is always a link between one another. And all of you have come to know that agriculture is playing a very important role, very key role actually. It is very important for the economic development of the country. Keeping this point in mind and realizing the importance of agriculture, Government of India, along with the cooperation of state governments, has taken a number of initiatives in order to develop agriculture sector and also to achieve rapid development in the agriculture sector. As a result, national agriculture policy actually was put into practice. When it comes to national agriculture policy, this is even called as new agricultural policy. National agricultural policy can even be called as new agricultural policy, NAP in short actually, the document with respect to this. And it was placed before the parliament, and before the parliamentarians actually. It has to be whatever bill and whatever draft and whatever document that was prepared with respect to national agriculture policy, that was to be placed before parliament, and that was accepted by each and every one of them. So this particular exercise was done on 28 July in 2000 actually, in this particular decade. Actually, it is a milestone in the history of the Indian agriculture, because government took the bold step to implement this new agricultural policy in order to develop agriculture sector at a very, very faster rate, also very rapidly. As a result, national agricultural policy, and particularly under the banner of new agriculture policy, that was implemented on 28 July in 2000, in the year 2000. And when national agriculture policy was implemented in our country, when the draft was prepared in this particular respect, and some of the important objectives by the Agricultural Ministry of Indian Economy, or Indian government I should say, and they prepared a number of objectives actually. Without objectives, they may not be able to prepare the draft of the national agricultural policy. So while preparing the draft and document of the national agricultural policy, and how to achieve higher rate of growth in the agriculture sector, how to develop the agriculture sector, actually they thought about all these important things. Therefore, they could envisage some of the specific objectives. After realizing, suppose we are able to realize all these important objectives, and it is not at all very difficult for Indian economy to achieve rapid growth in the said agricultural sector. In this connection, they have listed out, and they actually, the national agriculture policy aims at several important objectives. Which are those important objectives? And 4 major objectives are made, and important objectives I am going to share with you people, not more than that, because number of objectives, whatever number of objectives envisaged by the document, in the document of the national agricultural policy, all those objectives already you have come across under every 5-year plan, because even during first 5-year plan, and when you come up to 13 5-year plans in our economy, and all these objectives you may be able to see very easily in the plan document of the Indian economy. But special and specific objectives I am going to share with you all, that is to achieve the rate of growth of Indian agriculture. Especially when it comes to the rate of growth of agriculture sector, it aimed at the target rate of growth was fixed actually, and it was around 4%. They wanted to achieve 4% rate of growth in the agriculture sector. This is one of the important objectives envisaged and listed out actually by the people who have prepared, who have contributed to the preparation of the national agriculture policy. The major objective is none other than achieving growth rate of 4% in the agriculture sector. And from 2000 onwards actually, and more or less, agriculture sector recorded growth rate is only ranging between 3 to 4% actually. But that is what has been fixed, and the the growth rate was fixed by the Ministry of the Agriculture in our economy. So later on, and equity with growth, achieving equity with growth, or equality, let it be called as. Equity is nothing but equality actually, because when it comes to equality aspect, when you look into the rural India, when you look into the agriculturalists and their economic conditions, there was no equality. There was no equality at all, and social inequality was there, economic inequality was there. Therefore, in order to overcome the difficulties of these different kinds of inequality, they also set one of the important aims and goals under this national agricultural policy, which is none other than achieving, or to achieve the equity with growth. And this is yet another important thing. And another important objective is that, very very importantly, distribution of the surplus lands among the landless laborers. Because landless laborers, agricultural laborers, always it has been a big headache, and it has been a major concern in our economy. Because in our country, the total number of the agricultural laborers, very very huge, and they are also facing number of problems, and complicatedness is there, and there are complexities, there are practical problems actually, which you are able to see with agricultural laborers. Therefore, to safeguard their interest, to promote their economic welfare, to promote their economic conditions, government took a bold initiative. Therefore, it has added up one more important objectives in this particular list, is nothing but distribution of the surplus land, excess land, among the landless laborers, among the landless workers of agricultural sector. This is another important objective. And one more thing is that, and when we have decided to achieve rapid growth with the agriculture sector, that growth has to be accompanied by sustainable agricultural development. Sustainability in the agricultural development, which is the order of the day nowadays, because it has to be given importance. You are capable of achieving growth, and this is at a very rapid rate with agriculture sector. It is not that easy to achieve the rapid rate of economic growth with agriculture sector, but still, if you have decided, and if you are capable of achieving the growth rate, that growth rate has to be accompanied, economic growth or agricultural growth, that should be accompanied by sustainable development. That means to say, and whatever development that you are achieving in the agriculture sector, and that has to be done, that has to take place only without harming or without damaging environmental factors, without degrading our environmental factors. That is why it is being called as sustainable agricultural development. So this is one of the important objectives which was given more weightage under the national new agricultural policy by the people who prepared this particular document. This is how there are 4 important objectives that you are able to see under this national agricultural policy. Of course, when a new policy introduced into our economy, introduced into agriculture sector, so as to achieve rapid growth in our agriculture sector, pros and cons were there, merits and demerits were there, and evaluation from time to time, it is being done by Agricultural Ministry of India. And this is all about the national agricultural policy, and a brief introduction, and also important objectives of national agriculture policy. I have shared only these many things with you people. And one more topic under this agriculture sector in India, under this particular segment, and there is a topic called food security in India. And this is the third topic you are supposed to focus upon here, food security in India. What is it all about? Food security in India. Why you are discussing so much about this food security in India? Actually, in 2013, even before 2013, and particularly in 2010 decade, and people started speaking about it, became a debatable topic in our economy, and people started speaking about food security in India, availability of food, and many other things related to this. And why so much of importance being given to this food security, and what is it all about actually? Because you people know very well, because when you study economics, and when you also read out the newspapers and headlines in the newspaper, you come across that Indian economy, because always proud to say that we have been self-sufficient in the agricultural food grain production, because all of us do know that what is the total production, agricultural food production in our economy. When you take the statistics of 2019, when you take the statistics of 2019 and 20, and very evidently you are able to come across that 285 million tons is the total production of food grains in India. So based upon this particular statistical information, we can come to the conclusion that India has achieved self-sufficiency in the agricultural food grain production. But even though we are self-sufficient in the food grain production, still there is a problem which is called as food shortage, food deficiency. There is an acute shortage actually, particularly with respect to food grain production. And food shortage was there, food scarcity was there, and there is starvation among the people. At the same time, malnourishment is also yet another problem, and so many people of our country suffering from all these problems because of food scarcity, because of food shortage. There are so many people, millions of people actually, they are rolling with poverty and unemployment, and they are also suffering from starvation, hunger, poverty, and many more things. That is why government took up this particular topic, and it took the initiative and decided to pass a bill with respect to food security in India. This is also called as Right to Food Act. Food security bill was passed in 2013. Just 7 years back actually, we could pass a bill with respect to food security in order to provide nutritious and sufficient amount of food to all people living in our country. That was the agenda actually of Indian economy. So Indian government took a bold step to pass a bill which is nothing but food security bill in the year 2013, with the intention of providing nutritious food, sufficient amount of food to all people living in this particular big country. So with this particular objective, food security bill as I've accepted, it was enacted actually. It is also being called as officially, technically it is being called as Right to Food Act, which came into existence only in 2013. If I have to speak some of the important information relating to food security in India, then I have to make you understand what is food security. Is there any meaning for that? And can we define this food security? Because always we are mainly concerned with food security because we are self-sufficient in the food grain production. So when you talk about food security, so what should be the meaning and being given by various important organizations? How do we define this food security actually? Before we get to know about the food security bill, it is very, very important for all of us to know about the meaning and definition of the food security actually. So let me tell you about a very simple meaning, or before that, and before I give you a simple meaning, or to make you understand in a very, very common language whatever meaning I am giving you, and before that, let me develop on one of the important definitions given by WHO, that is World Health Organization. WHO is an abbreviation given to World Health Organization. It is World Health Organization which has defined the term food security. Let me read out the entire thing. According to WHO, what is food security? Food security is a process. Food security is a situation. And in this particular situation, it is none other than a situation when all the people at all times, without making any modifications, let me read out the whole thing for your benefit actually. And later on, I'm just going to condense the whole thing so as to make you people understand. Let me put it as it was defined by the World Health Organization. When all people at all times have physical and economic access to sufficient and nutritious food that meets their dietary needs and food preference for an active and healthy life. That means to say that accessibility should be there. And whatever definition being developed by WHO, and it can be simplified. The entire definition can be simplified and only for your convenience. That means to say, whenever there is an accessibility should be there for all people at all times, and people should be having accessibility to nutritious food and sufficient amount of food. Why do they require sufficient and nutritious food? In order to lead their active life, in order to lead their healthy life and happy life. So in order to lead their active, healthy and happy life, they need to have accessibility to nutritious food. Not only nutritious food, along with nutritious food, they need to consume sufficient amount of food, because it has to fulfill their dietary needs. Actually, calories intake, we always talk about when you have to define the poverty line. When it comes to poverty line, in terms, poverty line can be very easily defined taking the calories intake, by both rural people and urban people. Same way, in a similar manner, WHO, that is World Health Organization, keeping in view the dietary needs of the people, requirements, food requirements of the people, it has defined this particular way. People should be in a country, in a particular country, when a people should are having, all people are having accessibility to nutritional food, also to sufficient food at all times. And at all times, that particular process or situation can be easily termed as food security. Only then an economy can declare itself that food security has been given by that economy to all people. So people should be having, and nutritious food, sufficient amount of food should be made available. It is the bounded duty of government authorities to provide, all people with the sufficient food, also nutritious food. If they are made available always at all times in the sufficient quantity, only then that situation can be interpreted as food security is said to have achieved in our country. So this is how, with regard to food security, I was just sharing some of the important information with you people. And finally, when it comes to food security, let me conclude this stating food security means availability, accessibility, and affordability of food to all people at all times. So if this particular thing is said to happen in a country, then very easily, openly, a country can make the declaration stating that we have achieved, we have provided food security in our country, right? Food security, from the time immemorial, even before independence, even after independence, even after the implementation of 1991, and it has occupied a very, very important position, because it is also one of the important problems that we are facing with right now. It has been a major concern in our economy. So as per actually the world and as per the estimation made by labor ministry, made by agricultural ministry, there are 195 million undernourished people whom you can see only in our economy. See, this is the statistical data. Based upon this, you can make lot many different types of arguments. There are nearly 195 million undernourished people, because 195 million people are undernourished. They are not having accessibility to nutritious food, and this has been stated, this has been estimated by the Agriculture Ministry of India. And one more important information is that India ranks 74 out of 113 major countries, because at the international level, food security index has been prepared. Food security index has been prepared. Accordingly, India's ranking is 74. For 113, that is 113 countries, they have prepared the food security index, and India's place and position is only 74. 74 is the ranking and got by Indian economy. It is very, very disheartening to state that. And why there is, why we have passed a bill with respect to food security, because there are problems actually with agriculture sector, with agriculturalists, and increased pressure on land, and also productivity is less. And when you talk about production, we have achieved self-sufficiency. When it comes to productivity per hectare and per acre, it is very less when compared to other important countries. And also in the agricultural lands and rural areas, you may be able to see the problems like lower incomes, poverty, illiteracy, and unemployment. Therefore, there is a food shortage. All these problems actually have led to or have resulted in the food shortage or food scarcity. Therefore, Indian government decided to pass a bill, with respect to this food security. So in order to, while passing the bill with respect to food security, and to provide nutritious and sufficient food at the subsidized rates, Government of India took number of initiatives even before independence. Let me read out all these important things. The one very oldest one actually, a scheme which was made public actually, which is also very, very popular these days. It is none other than public distribution system, which is PDS. In brief, it is called as public distribution system in 1946, and again with some modifications and amendments, once again public distribution system was revamped in 1990. 1992. And again, with the target group, new public distribution system came into picture and put into practice in 1997, which is being called as targeted public distribution system. Again, coming to Antyodaya Anna Yojana, and as part of food security, we have been able to introduce one more important scheme, none other than Antyodaya Anna Yojana in 2000, Annapurna scheme in 2000 in the same year, and with that National Food Security Act that was implemented in 2013, enacted and came into existence in 2013. So as part of National Food Security Act, there are so many other important schemes in our economy. It will also include midday meal scheme and public distribution system, integrated child development, and many more programs were there. So to provide our people with the sufficient amount of food and nutritious food at the subsidized rates, public distribution system, and it is working really very well. So this is how I can be able to complete all the information. I think I'm exhausted with the information when it comes to food security bill. Let me go to modernization of Indian agriculture now. There is a topic, and last but one, this is modernization of Indian agriculture. And when we speak about modernization of Indian agriculture, so very easily it could be said that it is nothing but agricultural mechanization. Why should we modernize our agriculture? The very first question comes to our mind is that, and you should be ready to answer that particular question. Agriculture is a traditional sector. Agriculture is a traditional and very conventional sector. At the same time, people, those who are engaged in agriculture sector and rural land, actually rural areas, and they are very happy, they are very comfortable with the low level of technology and also conventional method of production. Instead of saying low level of technology, I have to say that conventional method of production, old and outdated method of production, they are very comfortable, they are very convenient. But nowadays, when you look into the growing population of the nation, it is very important for Indian economy to modernize. When you are able to modernize Indian agriculture, it is possible for us to increase production and productivity. That means to say, in order to solve the problem of food shortage, food scarcity, in order to provide sufficient amount of food to all people living in the country, it is very essential, it is very inevitable for Indian economy to modernize agriculture. So without modernizing agriculture, it is highly impossible for any country to solve the problem of food scarcity and food shortage. In this connection, agriculture should be modernized. See, we have to always make an argument, and there is no dispute over this particular aspect, because always we have argued, people are arguing that agriculture sector should be modernized just like industry and service sector. You will be able to see modernization in industries, modernization in service sector, but same thing and same amount of modernization unfortunately not happening in agriculture sector because of several important problems. Because and conventional mode of production is very popular over there, and most of the agriculturalists are illiterate. They are impoverished, I would tell you. They are highly indebted to big landlords. Actually, illiteracy, unemployment, poverty, low level of income, and more than this, they are not trained properly, they are not qualified people. And awareness should be created among themselves with regard to the use of the modern method of production. Therefore, and in order to increase production and productivity in agriculture, in order to improve the economic conditions of the farming community, it is very inevitable to modernize Indian agriculture. At the same time, and whatever growing population that you are able to see, to cater to the needs of this growing population, agriculture production should be always increased. In this connection, modernization is the order of the day, and Government of India also very seriously, it has been making number of it has been making and it has been implementing number of important measures, and with utmost care several important measures and very effective measures have been implemented, have been put into practice so as to modernize agriculture. What do you mean by modernization? How to modernize Indian agriculture? For example, when people, agriculturists started, when they start making use of the modern method of production and scientific methods of production with, chemical fertilizers, with pesticides, actually, with modern implements, it is possible for them to modernize agriculture. So this is the only way with the help of which you can definitely increase the agricultural production. So for modernization of agriculture, let me name a few, and in what way we can modernize agriculture sector. Scientific methods should be adopted, and agriculture should be given proper training with regard to the usage of a modern method of production and agricultural implements, and qualitative high yield variety seeds to be used by them. Only then agricultural modernization is possible. Along with that, chemical fertilizers, pesticides also to be made use of by Indian farmers so as to increase their production and productivity. Central and state government already they have joined hands with one another in order to modernize agriculture. They are also putting in a lot of efforts in this regard, and cooperation is required only from the side of Indian agriculturalists, for which and they have to be educated, and literacy rate among them should go up. Only then they are going to have different mindset. They are going to acknowledge, they are going to accept the new technology, new technical know-how, and modern agriculture implements they will be able to make use of. Until and unless it is not possible to modernize agriculture, because for example, number of modern implements, number of agricultural machineries that we are using in agriculture land, even today it is less. And if I have to say, then one example I can be able to take here, and especially Punjab and Haryana, these are the two important states where agricultural mechanization to some extent has taken place, and it has become successful over there because of the mindset of the people living in those two important states. They have accepted, they have acknowledged that modern method of production along with the upgraded technology is very, very helpful for developing Indian agriculture. This is how modernization for agriculture sector is very much important. And when you speak about the agricultural production and productivity, and the last topic under this agriculture sector in India I am taking up now, which is about agricultural laborers. Because before I give you the meaning of agricultural laborer, let me talk about the economic conditions of these agricultural laborers. Majority of agricultural laborers in our country, and majority of them, all of them are actually called, or they belong to economically weaker section, and they also suffer from many of the important economic and social problems. And social problems are unemployment, poverty, and illiteracy. With these important problems, added to these problems, there is one more very important thing: their income levels are very, very low, because they are all landless laborers. Because in every rural area, 50% of the farmers are landless workers, landless agricultural laborers. That means to say, they do not possess their own lands. They work in the land of others actually in order to earn their wages. They are all daily wage earners. This way, agricultural laborers actually. And when you look at the plight of the agricultural laborers, it is very, very unfortunate thing. It is very disheartening to state that in our economy, more than 14 crores of agricultural laborers are there. More than 14 crores. The number is 14.6 crores I believe, and as per the estimation made by Agriculture Ministry in the year 2019-20. So when you make a comparison between 2019 and 2000, and in the beginning of the decade actually the number was only 10 crore agricultural laborer. So these are some of the important information relating to agriculture labor. So after giving these information, and let me give you the meaning. Agriculture laborers are those persons, or you may simply call them farmers, who work on the lands of others. And lands of others mean the land belong to others. They will be working in others' land on wages for the major part of the year, because nearly for 10 months in a year they will be working in the land of others, and they will be earning their minimum wages actually, say around 100 rupees, 150 rupees, something like this. Therefore, economic conditions of them are very, very poor. They belong to economically weaker section. And here in India, more than 50% of the farm workers, they do not possess their land. Even though they possess land, they will be having only small holdings. In that, having that small piece of land, they may not be able to grow more number of crops. Multiple cropping they may not be able to resort to actually, and productivity and production will be very less when the size of the land is very, very small. Small land holdings will be owned by these farmers, but therefore and instead of growing crops in their small land actually, they just wanted to migrate to urban areas in search of jobs, and majority of the times they will be working in others' land actually. And I just wanted to give a statistical data or statistical information, and with respect to the agricultural laborers existing in our economy, number of landless agricultural laborers in the country, and which was around 10.67 crore in 2001. As per the census in 2001, their number was 10.67. Now in 2011, and when census was conducted in this particular year, the number rose to 14.43 crore. So this is how over the years, over the period of 10 years, the number has gone up. The number of landless agriculture workers in India as per census 2001 was only 10.67 crore. Now in 2011 it is around 14.43. This is announced by Labor Ministry. And lastly, and let me focus upon a very important subtopic, none other than what are the important characteristics of Indian agricultural laborers. Because agricultural laborers, found to be seen in India, their economic conditions, when you talk about economic conditions of these agriculture laborers, and at the same time you can make a comparative study. Agriculture laborers existing and living in other various countries and totally different. They are quite well off. Their level of income is also very high when compared to that of Indian agricultural laborers. And there are some special characteristic features actually and possessed by these people. All these agriculture laborers, whether they have their own land or they work in others' land, and there are some special characteristic features. They are characterized by some of the important features, none other than agriculture laborers are scattered, because we have here in our economy more than 6 lakh villages. More than 6 lakh villages are there in our economy. In all these villages, there are agriculture laborers existing and living. Their number, just now I have mentioned, 14 crore of them are there in our economy, and they are living in they are found to be seen in the length and breadth of the country. In all parts of the country, they are scattered everywhere. They are scattered over the country, over different parts of the country. They are unskilled. They are highly unskilled. When it comes to skillfulness of the agriculture labor is very, very less, because they are illiterate. They are not well educated. They are not qualified. They are not well trained. Therefore, their skillfulness the degree of skillfulness is very less among them, and because of the lack of training being given to them, and therefore they all belong to unorganized sector at the same time. And there are also social problems being faced by them in the form of poverty, unemployment and illiteracy. At the same time, they have less bargaining power. When they go and work in others' land, actually they do not have any much bargaining power, and they are not in a position to bargain with big landlords actually. Therefore, they are ready to work even for lower wages in the agricultural land areas. And at the same time, and some of them even today they are working as bonded laborers. Even though government has taken initiative and it has abolished the bonded labor system in some parts of Indian economy, it is very, very unfortunate that this system is still existing. Some of the landless workers, some of the agriculture laborers are working with the big landlords as the bonded laborers. And the measures taken by government in this regard, because so as to overcome the problems being faced by all agriculture laborers, some important measures have been undertaken by Government of India with the cooperation and with the consultation of the state governments. And those important schemes and programs are something like this: passing of minimum wages act. Long ago, immediately after independence, we could pass an act which was related to minimum wages. Actually, it was passed and enacted by Government of India only to protect the interest of agricultural laborers. Coming to another very important thing, abolition of bonded laborers. Even during British period, and people started thinking about this, bonded labor system was completely totally abolished. And providing land to landless laborers to promote and to improve their economic conditions. Actually, Government of India also into one more important task, wherein it is providing land, excess land and surplus land possessed by landlords, being distributed among the landless laborers, just to promote the economic conditions of these agricultural laborers. And also housing facility is also being created nowadays after 2014. Earlier it was not there. After 2014, particularly in 2010 decade, Government of India took a bold step in order to provide housing facility to all these landless agricultural laborers. And number of schemes so far have been introduced by Government of India and also state governments, actually, to name a few. Let me give you the list of all those important schemes, particularly in connection with the agricultural laborers and their problems. And this is Janshri Bima Yojana is one such program, and many of the Rozgar Yojana, Gram Sadak Yojana and Narega is one of the very important and popular programs and schemes of the central government, in order to give 100 days employment to all rural agricultural laborers. And this scheme was launched actually, and in the memory of the Mahatma Gandhi. It's a very, very popular thing. So under this banner, minimum 100 days of employment being provided to all agricultural laborers in rural India. This is how, very popular programs, particularly, Sampurna Gramin Rozgar Yojana and poverty alleviation programs and employment guarantee scheme, employment assurance scheme, and rural housing and water supply program. With this, Jawahar Rozgar Yojana, desert development programs, particularly in Rajasthan state, wherever you can see the desert regions, to develop, those important regions, and under that particular banner, and they try to create number of employment opportunities which may be easily provided to landless agricultural laborers. This is how, popular programs, along with, some other important special schemes have been launched by government of India, also by state government, so as to solve the problems of the agricultural laborers in India. So that, and nowadays when you look into the entire scenario, you people may be able to say that some improvement is taking place, and there has been improvement in the economic and social conditions of the agricultural laborers, and altogether removal of the problem is highly impossible, and government is also making very very sincere effort in this particular respect. And this is all about the, agricultural laborers and their characteristic features and important schemes launched and undertaken by government, union government and state government here in our economy. So with this, I think, I have been able to complete or cover rather all important subtopics and which fall in the category of agricultural sector in India. And before I conclude, let me tell you one thing, because role and importance of agriculture in India, in a very brief manner I have been able to speak about. Again, coming to national agriculture policy, I have made you understand what is it all about. National agriculture policy, when was it implemented, what are the important objectives. Coming to food security of India, why food security bill was enacted in our economy, what was the necessity, and what are the important aims and goals of it, and what are the important schemes actually brought under the purview of food security bill. All those things I have discussed very briefly. And modernization of Indian agriculture, so this is the order of the day, and what requirement is there to modernize Indian agriculture. So what is the benefit that we are getting out of, modernization of Indian agriculture. I have been able to tell you. And the last topic under this, which I have covered couple of minutes back, is none other than agricultural laborers. Because agricultural laborers always, agricultural laborer is one of the important topics, and from your examination point of view also, each one of the topic is very very important and equally important. So you have to give equal weightage to all these important topics. And my next immediate topic, I'm going to speak about industrial sector in India, and also importance of industrialization in our economy, and other related details of industries I am discussing in my next class. So with this, I'm going to wind up. I think, exhausted with all the important points which I intended to share with you people.